Okay, so welcome into Philadelphia Walks PTSD. My name is Sharon Cole, or Sharon, or Cole, whatever you want to refer to me as, totally fine. So today is February 20th, 2023. I guess it's President's Day. It's a federal holiday. And it is day 51 of my one video each day, 365-day campaign to raise money from donors, big and small, short and tall, deep pockets. Where are you? Please hear me. I know you know this thing exists. I am looking to get my life back. It was actually stolen from me. I was unable to pursue things I normally wanted to pursue, and so forth and so on. Having had plans to maybe move out to the Pacific Northwest. I was going to actually run a half marathon out there because I was involved in running. I was involved in volunteering with groups in the LGBT community and everything. Ironically, I was going to run in Run Like Hell in Portland, Oregon. I planned on it for the next year, but instead I got walloped in my apartment. It was bad. The fourth Monday of 2011, while blizzards were going on, we had state of emergency, blizzards, snow. We got socked week after week after week after week after week with snow that year. So even the weather played in to everything I experienced on some level. People were able to use the weather, if you will, even on the state of emergency day when no one's supposed to be out on the roads. I still walked dogs. Some people stayed home and I still walked dogs, and cars were in gridlock all over the city of Philadelphia as if people came out to play that day. This was after the fourth Monday. This would be a different day. But anyway, with all this said, I need to regain my life. I actually have a lot of disorders, if you will, or it's hard to explain. PTSD would be one way to wrap everything up. But because of all the torture that I've experienced, it is very difficult for me to sort of proceed or find work in general. So I'm draining my bank account, having worked for Shift during the pandemic, which meant what? There was no one was out there during the pandemic. I was living in Florida, and decided maybe I can work for Shift because I was teaching yoga at a yoga studio, and there was hardly anyone out there because most people couldn't show up to the stores. And when they finally kind of let them show up to the stores, shoppers were able to bypass the lines and go in, get the orders. So I was driving very independent type work, even though I'm qualified to do a lot more. Would love to have, work in the editing world or something like that, working even hybrid, mostly from home. But all that aside, point being, I was so damaged. It's a miracle that I'm walking around, and I'm kind of wondering how people keep me up. Anyway, I wanted to get into a very specific thing that occurred and still occurs on some level, but it's a very serious thing. It has to do with one of the 72,000 layers of harassment that I experienced, and it has to do with mentalism, or people who have been trained to handle a person in a certain way, and I think they do it to feel in control. And it's a way to keep someone over here in the corner, or how can I gain control of this person's brain? And in fact, the show Mentalist was running during 2011, 12, and maybe 13. I haven't had a TV in many years. That thing is free. It comes with the apartment, but I don't have a service to use it. I've relied on my laptop for many, many, many years. I think maybe like 2009 or so, 2008, whenever I moved in above Dirty Frank's, is when I threw out the TV that I had, but I didn't know how to get it to work because I didn't want to pay for cable, because I've always lived on the cheap big time in order to survive. So anyway, with that said, I did see a clip of The Mentalist back in the day when Hulu allowed you to watch things for free, like a day or two after it aired. And I know there were tricks that were played that can really mess with people's minds big time. One comes to mind very quickly. They were showing that an illusionist could put someone out on a mountain or a sand dune somewhere, and I forget, and completely change the landscape, and that person would wonder, like, where did the sun go, or that's how much you can mess with someone's mind. And it doesn't mean that, or where did the moon go? It doesn't mean that person who's used is easy. You can do it to anyone. Or it's sort of like that show. There's another show from years ago. I'm forgetting it now. But anyway, my point being, there are people who learn to try to dominate. Their whole life, they're trying to dominate people, and yet they never really get what they want. They're still living in the same place. They still make the same amount of money, but they still want to see if they can dominate someone's brain through mentalist tactics. It does contribute to this idea of human trafficking someone, or we need this person to be over here. So I'll go through this really quick. In the beginning, after I was scared out of my apartment in 2011, I reached out to a whole bunch of people who I might not usually reach out to, or better yet, I reached out to people who are magically never available unless that person has something to gain. I've reached out to people and somehow my emails wind up in their spam folder all the time. So anyway, it must have wound up in spam. And it's like, I get it, but do you guys know anything? Can you help me? So anyway, but the mentalist things that people use, I'll give a few examples. When I was in Gainesville, Florida, I had there were some relatives who came by, and they sort of showed up as my mom was being carted off in a Dodge Grand Caravan, which served as a hearse, if you will. And when they pulled up, all the one would say is, "Oh, she was my favorite aunt." Now, and these are people who have degrees. They work in places that make them seem like they're important. They kind of have airs. They live in a cute home that seems nice, warm, and cozy. They might as well pretend to be Washingtonians. That's how great the illusion can be. Oh, she was my favorite aunt. And I was creeped out because I didn't know they were showing up. And nobody told me that they called anyone to say, "Oh, I called so-and-so to let you know." It's like, and in a way it steals control. I felt bad. I felt badly that I was the only daughter who was able to sort of handle matters. In Florida, it was during the pandemic, and all kinds of circumstances prevented other people from really being part of their mother or grandmother's death. But people keep stealing control from Sharon, and it has to end. Or from my sister, or from other people in my family. They need to back off. The same people or persons, who shall go unnamed, decided very quickly and underhandedly and in a weird, creepy way that I had to hurry up and move within 3 weeks. So my mom's sister passed away. I was living with my mom and her sister, or my aunt, in more recent years during the pandemic, and saw this mentalist mentality just in a big, gigantic way in my face, and was like, I can't even look at these people because they seem so fake to me. But what they said was, because my mom passed away, so my sister and I, and my sister's kids lost their grandmother. She passed away. Then our dad/grandfather passed away. He lived somewhere else. And then our aunt passed away, or great aunt, what have you. I was living with my mom and aunt. While she was in hospice care in the hospital, knowing full well that she probably had very limited time, I knew, like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I knew that I couldn't stay in that home any longer, but I wondered, like, how much time I had to try to figure out how to get myself somewhere else. And thank God for Shipt, that I was able to save a lot of money. Although they had fired me for no reason. I worked my ass off day before sunrise and after sunset. I was so afraid to not have money in the bank. I was so afraid to be homeless. I never was able to find a good answer from Shipt. So this is part of my experience. This is part of what a target looks like. I tried calling. They're a mostly virtual company, but there are numbers that you're supposed to be able to call. They're based out of Birmingham, Alabama. No one ever called me back. I had a very vague email saying your account's been suspended and you can no longer work for Shipt for the rest of your life. And I did everything correctly. And I know I made that company a lot of money because I hustled so hard and I was fit enough to climb up the stairs with 12 cases of water. And I was one of the few people, and we saw each other shopping because it was the pandemic. Like, there's another ship shopper, there's another ship shopper, there's another, because you wore the shirts and everything. I have the 5K. I have, is it the 5K club or the 1K club? 5K. I have the 5K club shirt. That's how much I shopped for these people. And snip, was cut right off. So it's like, okay, I have a certain amount of money in the bank. I don't know if I'll be approved by anyone. There might be special entities out there to help people special people like Pearl Properties, I'll do a little plug. They know people have trials and tribulations and that are out of their control. They know that not everybody's in control of their lives. They know other people come in and try to mess people up. So they might kind of approve people. It's affordable, luxury, what have you. They might be able to approve people, but I'm still paying. They still make money. They know I'm going to pay rent until I can't any longer. But anyway, point being, I'm all worried because my aunt was about to pass away. She was in hospice care in the hospital. And I had a conversation. I was trying to have an adult conversation. This is what it sounds like. You know, I'm so sorry I'm here in this house, because it was really my aunt's house, even though my mom has checkbooks of checks that she wrote to stay there. But anyway, and pay dues and everything. And Dish, she paid all of Dish. Meanwhile, we have relatives coming in, ransacking the house, getting everything out, turning off Dish, turning off water, turning off this, turning off that. And I'm like, what should I do? I don't know where to go. I don't know where to turn. I'm not sure where to live. I don't know who's going to approve me. I'm like trying like to hurry up and figure out where to go. An adult conversation, which not many people know how to have, and they have money. There are people with assets and money, and they don't know how to have an adult conversation. I'm so sorry I'm here. I shouldn't have to apologize because I'm wondering who forced me to be there. I'm wondering how this all started. I'm sorry, I would like to move. I'm trying to figure out what to do. I didn't want to be living here to begin with. Obviously, no one wants to have to live with their mom and aunt if they don't have to. Most people want to be independent. And, I'm not sure what to do. And this person who has a very specific voice that might be cute to other people, but isn't to someone who gets creeped out knowing who's creepy. Oh, in due time, don't worry, in due time, in due time. Do they cause people to go into prison? Do they think that they're witchcraft practitioners? We try to get people in prison. I actually wonder, that's how tough this was. I made that silent myself. Due time. So I felt at ease a little bit. I was like, okay, it sounds like they're not in a hurry to sell this home or what have you. Flash forward, my aunt then passes away like within like 24 to 48 hours, and immediately I get a phone call. Oh, by the way, we won't be able to carry you, which is so funny because I've carried them. Trust me. I have carried them. And these people have relied on vulnerable people their whole lives. I can't carry you any longer, Gainesville, Florida, or Cartersville, Georgia. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have what you have. We can't carry you. We need you out in 3 weeks. And I'm like, 4 weeks is okay, but 3 weeks is better. Nothing. Crickets. Now, I understand that people want to list a house. In a way, I was like, well, I'm trying to figure out what I would do if someone were in a home and we didn't know how to handle it. I would probably offer, like, what kind of help do you need? What's the situation? No one wanted to find out my situation. No one wanted to have an adult conversation. No one wanted to call up Sharon and say, oh, and make it light. Because I tried to reach out, like, although I was trembling and shaking and scared. I was very traumatized. Dude, you're living with your mom and our mom. What up? Do you want to grab coffee? Do you need someone to talk to? They don't know how to do that. Maybe because they're guilty. So we also have someone who was conveniently available on the day of the crisis. My mom and aunt weren't available because their phone lines had been cut. I get scared out of my apartment the fourth Monday of January 2011. In the middle of the night, I called my sister and the police. I didn't want to call my mom because she was with my aunt, and I didn't want to bother two older women in the middle of the night. It was just like a thing. Like, I already knew not to call my mom. But when I did try to call them the next day, we're sorry, the number you're trying to reach has been disconnected. Who was available? My aunt's. My sister was able to contact one of the sons of my aunt, and then we were able to get the phone number, my aunt's cell phone number, and then find out what the issue was. And from there on, I talked to one of my cousins who was miraculously available after years of really never being available. These people hang up the phone on people on purpose. Hey, I'm calling to wish my mom a Merry Christmas. She said she'd be at your house. Click. Ouch. Now, that's happened to someone in my family, and it might have seemed like, oh, it was disconnected. No, they actually do that. So then when my aunt went into the hospital, I helped her get there. I was yelled at by one of her sons because I was saying, which hospital do you want her? Just get in there. I was like, I can't believe the level of abuse. They didn't care. Trust me, they were waiting for her to die off. But we know how to pretend. Somebody knows how to pretend to care. Big time. Because I was saying, do you want Shands or the other hospital? Because nobody likes one over the other. But do you want better care, or do you want the care that I saw where people are like in some sort of movie? I was going to ask really quick, which one do you want me to call? She would have been fine. Whoop. And we have someone who acts out the ass to pretend to care. Just hurry up and call one. Just call. I'm like, you do it, you fucking asshole. I want to know why you guys aren't taking care of your mom, since you're going to collect all the assets. Oh, sorry, did I drop the F-bomb? I'm so sorry. So, in addition to that, I call up while my aunt's in the ER. And I'm trying to figure out like where the other son is, or like shouldn't somebody else be showing up for their mom? Tired of doing everybody's job for them, even from Philadelphia. So I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, well, where's so-and-so? And he's like, well, oh, where's your... And then I also said, well, and by the way, my dad passed away yesterday. So the first time my aunt wound up in the hospital, she had 2 rounds. She went into the hospital the day after my dad passed away. And my dad passed away about 4 or 5 months after my mom passed away. Oh, he's from Bradenton. Mentalist. These people will drag out words and they try to control your brain. It's a form of hypnotism. I don't care any longer. These people don't give a flying F about anything but themselves and their agenda. I stopped caring. If I wind up hurt, there are people who already know who to start looking at. Who should we blame if Sharon ever gets hurt? Got a whole list. So in addition to that, people use this mentalist sound, or one of the other things that a cousin said to me when he was miraculously available in the beginning of me being tortured, because I was like, it's weird. I feel like there are people who, it's like people keep insinuating or doing certain things that make it seem like they're going to try to put me, in prison for pedophilia or whatever, or make me look like a car bomb terrorist. Oh, but nothing bad has happened yet, right? Aside from, I was like, well, no, none of that has happened. But aside from being PTSD'd and scared and tortured out the ass, these people are subpar on their education. So The South is going to have to kick it up a notch if they want to catch up to the Northeast. In addition, this type of activity is designed to drive someone crazy, to make someone look inferior, to make someone look crazy, and then tuck them away in a little corner. I have other family members. They're not really totally biological, but I have other families, some technically biological, others not so much. And if you're able to make someone look needy, see how I'm asking for money all the time? If you have a group of people, there are groups of people who they almost need a prisoner in their own world, but somehow they're taking care of that person. We need to put her over here. We need to have someone to claim as our own personal prisoner while we go off and ski the mountains of Colorado. You would have to have a very deep understanding of psychology and have read a lot of books about how people operate, how abusive people operate. A lot of people live in abusive families, but it's so hidden because there's not blatant. It's not like overly blatant, unless there are people on the outside who have had very healthy lives who are like, God, they keep her prisoner way off in that junked up trailer on some experimental farm. Some people's mentalities, they need to know they have a prisoner over here. Or I've even met people say I meet a couple and I'm the third wheel. Some people love to have a third wheel. They need a personal prisoner. They need to put everything onto that other person that's wrong and toxic within their own relationships. So sorry for the long drawn out explanation, but I cannot believe that myself, my mom, my sister, and parts asunder, were technically born into a very sadistic family system. And as the most vulnerable, they took advantage of it and other people's family systems. Because we have non-biologicals, we have some biologicals, we have some divorce, we got this, we got that. And it's almost as if we became, in a way, prisoners of someone's desperate desire. It's like the Truman Show when you have that guy up in the sky. And in a way, Jim Carrey was a prisoner, if you will, of someone's desperate need to control and self-hate. And instead of that man in the sky reflecting on himself and trying to make himself a better human being or just to live his own personal life, he needs to control someone. He does not exist if he can't control someone. There are a lot of people like that here, even in Philadelphia. It's an issue that people so desperately need to control someone in order to feel important. I've had people grocery shop with me and they want me to look at the UPC. It's a way to take someone's brain. Oh, what does it say on this UPS? Or this, whatever you call it, label or price lookup number. See, and they practically bring you in. Very controlling mentalities. These people are desperate. It's funny to watch them operate, as long as they're not operating full speed on you. They're pathetic and they're desperate. And higher up people know who they are. They know what they've done. It's like Santa Claus. Who's been naughty and who's been nice? Who pretends to be nice? Even while wearing a cross around their necks. While trying desperately to control other people and keep them in their own personal prison. It is the lowest form of a relationship. Technically, I'm single because these people have honed in. And it's like, I can't do this relationship. I can't. This is years ago. And they see something and they want to put you right there. I don't do traps very well. There are lots of married people out there and their husbands, mostly. There are women, bully women. Yes, dear. What do I need to do now, dear? Yes, dear. It's kind of a joke until it isn't. What do you need me to do now? Okay, you need me to do this? I've seen both, but in general, we are used to seeing men be more like, okay, I need these people over here, I need these people there, so that I can do what I want to do. But nobody controls that person. There's no one controlling the person who's trying to make sure everybody's shuffled over here. It's a very specific mentality. It's in the psychopath, sociopath world. To make sure your wife is working when someone comes to visit, to make sure your daughters are at their practice when someone comes to visit, while you own a bunch of homes and raked in a bunch of assets. Anyway, I'll end it there. There's a better way to describe these types of personalities who control too much, or people who love to have a third wheel come along for dinner because they want to put everything on that single person, and the single person is always ganged up on. So I guess the best rule of thumb is, unless you're with incredibly healthy people, try never to be a third wheel. Try to, pay for a +1, anything, please, just to not be outnumbered and ganged up on at any function. Okay, so that's it. That was a long one, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much.